Senator Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the panel, I say this with great respect for each of you. I know that you care deeply and that the policy and programs that you are implementing are well-intentioned. But I think we have to face the very unpleasant truth that what we're doing is not working. The data overwhelmingly demonstrate that. Whether you look at national data or data from the state of Maine. Maine's leading drug overdose drug death researcher, Dr. Marcy Sorg from the University of Maine, recently called Maine's overdose epidemic, quote, the worst it's ever been, end quote. Tragically, we lost a record high 627 Mainers in 2021, and the data from the first part of this year shows a 9% increase over a comparable period of last year. The number of total overdoses in Maine exceeded 9,500 last year. Fentanyl was involved in 77% of deadly overdoses in Maine. That's a dramatic increase. So I want to talk to you about two issues. One is enforcement and interdiction, and the second is prevention and education. In 2021, the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency seized more than 10,000 grams of fentanyl. That's a 67% increase, but they tell me they cannot possibly keep up. They are overwhelmed, and that Maine's overdose crisis is primarily driven by the increased supply of illicit fentanyl originating in China and smuggled through Mexico into our country. I've been to the border with Mexico. I've seen the cartels who are smuggling people across the border. I've talked with the Border Patrol officers out on their midnight shift, and they've expressed such frustration that they have had to divert their resources to handling the tremendous influx of people crossing the border rather than focusing on illicit drug interdiction. So like my colleagues, I cannot help but conclude that our inability to secure the southern border has an adverse impact and contributes directly to our inability to stop the flow of drugs into this country. I've also talked to the Coast Guard and their efforts and how frustrated they feel. So my first question, Mr. Chester, is do you agree that the unprecedented surge of people illegally entering the United States has diverted limited government resources away from drug interdiction?
Thank you for your question, Senator. And I know Marcy Sorg, and I've worked with her for the past several years, and she's an incredible professional.
She is.
And understands this issue better than just about anybody. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that. There is no doubt that there are a number of challenges at the southwest border of the United States. But what I would ask that we all bear in mind is a couple of things. The first one is these are very determined drug traffickers who are going to find any means to get these drugs into our country, whether it's the southwest border, whether it's the mail, express consignment, maritime, or air conveyances. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is our focus that we have not only in commercial disruption, but going after the illicit finance, not only the profits that are the motivation for doing this, but the operating capital that allows it to happen is an overarching way to be able to deal with this very frustrating problem. And the last thing I would tell you, ma'am, is this is a very dynamic problem and a very dynamic situation. And when you say that what we're doing is not working, It would be easy to say, well, what we have done is not working. What we have to do is very quickly identify when we have new vulnerabilities, when the traffickers have changed the ways that they do business, and close those gaps and vulnerabilities as quickly as we possibly can. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now.
Thank you. I'm going to submit my next question for the record because my time has expired, but Dr. Delphin Rittman, it is for you. I just want to tell you about Hannah Flaherty, a 14-year-old girl from Portland, a straight-A student with no history of drug abuse who died from a suspected fentanyl poisoning last month. And my question for you is going to be, for the record, given the time, what more can we do to reach young people? And I'm not talking just about high school. I'm talking about middle school students, to educate them about the dangers of drug abuse so that they don't think a pill is harmless. It's injecting yourself, which is dangerous, which I think is a common misperception. And I would like to follow up and talk with you about that because I remember very well when I was growing up in Caribou in northern Maine that we had a recovered heroin addict come in and talk to us, and it was so powerful. It was incredibly powerful. So I'm wondering what more we can do to educate students at a young age about the dangers. And I know I'm out of time, but thank you.
Thank you, Senator Collins. A critical question, and I think we all would look forward to your answering